House of David has finished its first season, making this a huge success on the Amazon Prime charts and already moving into production of season 2. I have made a couple of videos about House of David, praising the high quality production, but also criticizing the use of AI. But what was the first season like in its entirety? Has my opinion changed after the first couple of episodes? Well, yes and no. House of David to me is really a standout show that's absolutely worth watching. Even though I think that this will be more of an effective show for people who are new in the faith or unbelievers, rather than people who have been walking with the Lord for a couple of years or more. And there are many great things I love about the first season of House of David, both as a film fan and as a Christian. The visuals are beautiful. I love the way they lit the interior shots, the colors look amazing. For the most part, the show has really a lot of natural cinematography. That means on-location shooting, while also delivering on some spectacular, fantastic imagery and large-scale action scenes that come with a few exceptions when it comes to the naturalism, but I'll get to that in a minute. I also love the music of the show, like not just the main theme, but the overall score just sounds so epic and iconic. My favorite scenes of House of David were actually the ones where we have David just playing music by himself, worshiping the Lord, and it actually made me look up on YouTube performances, like musical performances of the Psalms in Hebrew, and I just loved the sound of that. As a Bible to screen adaptation, this was way closer to scripture than I ever anticipated. I know there's been a lot of controversy and criticism on that, but I do think that the things they added to the story of David, like side characters, filling in the gaps that scripture leaves open, and also the interpretation that the screenwriters did. I think all of that just served as a personal touch point to scripture and interpretations, as opposed to turning scripture into something that it truly isn't. I think it's good because overall this is a really God-centered show. Like, I believe the filmmakers and the screenwriters used every chance they got to point the story back to God, especially when it comes to that finale. The first season shows the whole showdown of David versus Goliath, and to be honest, it totally exceeded my expectations. I was very moved, like super excited to see this on screen, given especially how iconic David versus Goliath is. They did execute this in a way where I felt like I was experiencing this story for the very first time. And one thing I really want to highlight right here is the way they didn't like show David in a heroic way, but used his win in order to point back to God. Like, especially in that finale, every single storyline they had pointed to God in a very direct way, really exalted God. I think with the first season they hit an almost perfect balance of delivering a show with a distinct style and a lot of production value that also stays God-centered and you can watch with your whole family. Well, maybe not your whole family, because there is a lot of violence, some of the content is quite mature, but I think that especially teens will have a really great time with House of David that will ultimately bring them closer to scripture. When it comes to the negatives, there were a couple of things that I found to be really problematic, and I personally hope they don't continue to do them in the subsequent seasons. Primarily, it's use of AI. Looking back on it, I absolutely hated seeing AI generated scenes in the show. There was some really tasteless imagery, even shots where the show showed us people almost naked on screen. I thought that was totally inappropriate. I personally don't really mind if they use AI to kind of expand the background, but if Amazon gives them a larger budget for season 2, I really hope they don't include any AI generated imagery anymore. Thus hoping that it didn't open like a Pandora's box to just for the show to keep using AI more and more. I really am afraid that this is what's going to happen, but I do hope that they continue to shoot more on set and in camera, and use what I think will be a higher budget because of the success of the first season further on. Another criticism I would have for the show is that it really aims for the big and epic moments every chance it gets. That sometimes leads to unofficial moments, some inauthentic authenticity and really a big Hollywood-esque flavor that sometimes is appropriate and sometimes feels over the top. When it comes to the show's style and the way it was directed, it also had some visual and stylistic inconsistencies. There were many shots and even whole scenes throughout the season that felt like they were made by another filmmaker, by another director. And I actually looked up an interview, and it seems like a lot of the show was produced and shot by second unit teams. So a lot of the scenes were not directed by John Irwin, John Gunn, but actually by second unit directors. And usually second unit is used for smaller scenes or smaller moments, but given how many of the larger scenes I'm assuming were shot by the second unit director, it really explains how some scenes feel stylistically way different than others. But here's why I think that House of David will really cause a vibe shift for Hollywood and the movie industry in general. Even though I don't personally like it, I gotta admit the use of AI is really cutting edge. This is the first show or movie for that matter ever to have fully AI generated scenes in a narrative format that don't actually look like AI. I think that a lot of movies and shows will come in the future that will keep using AI, and I think they will look back on House of David, a biblical show, for reference. I absolutely love that this show works so well for people outside of the faith. I gotta be honest, I have a hard time recommending The Chosen to unbelievers because, I mean, The Chosen just takes a while to get started. It takes like almost 2 seasons to become truly good and as good as it is now. But House of David is amazing and high quality right from the get-go. The show perfectly blends into what you can watch on Amazon Prime right now when it comes to secular content. This is why the show has the ability to reach people that are far from God, just where they're at. And this proves that biblical storytelling works without having to change scripture or modernize it or make it more progressive or anything like that. It proves that scripture has everything it needs, is self-sufficient, and I believe that through that the show really puts Christian creativity in storytelling front and center, not just within the Christian world of Christianity, but also film culture, like the real film culture in general. And I don't think that any other show or movie has done that so well up until now than House of David. That's why I'll be really looking forward to season 2. I am so excited to see where this show, where John Irwin and his team are going to take this show in the future. And I think that it's really worth watching and recommending. Alright guys, this is from my review of House of David Season 1. What did you think about Season 1 of House of David? Let me know in the comments. I thank you so much for your time and attention watching my review right here. Wish you all a blessed day and hope to have you back in the next one.